Hello and welcome to this webinar around my theme transform. And today I'm going to be talking a bit about time to refocus and re-energize. And it seems kind of timely. We're almost at the end of winter in Australia. And now is a really key time to start really looking at ourselves and starting to plan a way forward. So today, I'm going to talk about how we can start to transform by prioritizing our health and well-being, because I really believe that health and well-being is critical to any success that we want to drive in our life, in our career, in our world, and relationships. So one of the key drivers is about getting clear on your identity, and we're going to talk a bit about that today, and understand how self-compassion and these habits of self-care help enable you to shift your mindset, and how that then ties into our energy and the energy that we have, the energy that we send out to those around us, and the momentum that it delivers, and how that ties in with identity and self-compassion. And then we'll talk about some foods that will help to build your energy. So by the time we get through this webinar today, I'll give you three key tips on how to reset, refocus, re-energize. So for those who've just joined, I've actually just started recording, so that for the people who aren't able to attend live just now, they'll be able to get the recorded copy once it's converted. So I just wanted to, I guess, take a minute to consider this quote from Maya Angelou. And she said, "We delight in the beauty of the butterfly, but rarely admit the changes that it's gone through to achieve that beauty." Now, I've been working for a long time on my transform programs, whether it be coaching, workshops, retreats. And I talk about transformation is the key to growth, to move forward, to be successful. And I guess the butterfly is symbolic of transformation, because it starts off as a caterpillar and then eventually emerges as this beautiful, magical butterfly that's full of grace and poise, wisdom, and magic, and everything else in between. And I liken that to when we go on this health and wellness journey, that the transformation that we go through during this time is on par with what a butterfly's journey is like, because the more that you start to do that work, the internal work on yourself, the more layers that you shed, the lighter that you become, the clearer that you see, the more energy that you have. And that allows the momentum, your energy to fire up. And it allows you to get really clear on your passion, what your why is. Why are you here? And it's only as you start to do that inner work that all of those questions that you've probably been asking yourself for a long, long time become apparent, become clearer. And it gives you the confidence and the strength and that validation to move forward and know that you're on the right path. Because for a lot of us, we get that fear creeps in when we're doing things and we're stretching ourselves out of our comfort zone, and we start to fear and go, am I really on the right path? Or who am I to think that I can make this difference or leave that legacy? And it's about giving yourself that space to think and trust and know and just keep moving forward, because remember, it's one step at a time. So, is this you? So, I've been talking to a lot of clients in my practice recently, and they're really wondering where they are now. We know that we've had so much disruption over the last 12, 18 months, and it's continuing. And I really believe that that disruption is going to continue for quite some time, because the universe is saying, we need to make change. We can't continue to be doing things the way that we've previously been doing them, because it's not working. We know that we've got our health burden in Australia alone is out of control. We know that 1 in 10 people suffers from a chronic health condition, and we know that increases with age. We know that most of our chronic health conditions are reversible if we look after our health and do that work. But we need to do the work. There's no quick fix, there's no magic pill, there's no magic bullet. So we can, to grow older and moving into middle age and older age, then we want to have that quality of life. We want to have the mobility. We want to have the energy and the health and vitality to enjoy those years. And it really starts right here and now, where you start to focus on you, and your health is that foundation to build from. And they've also, these ladies that I've been working with have been reflecting on where they have been in the past, and and challenged themselves on where they were and how they felt while they were there. And were they happy and fulfilled, or what changes do they need to make in order to make a more enjoyable present and plan for a really exciting future. And many are also really confused about the direction that they thought they were going in, because for many, they've had to do pivots from COVID, from all the changes that have been happening. And because things are happening so quickly, then a lot of them have just really been struggling on coming out of that comfort zone. So if any of these sound like you and you're nodding your head, don't be alarmed, don't be scared. Just know that you're not alone. It's quite normal. We're going through this massive time in society where there's so much transformation happening, and it's kind of a bit like riding the storm, and knowing that you just need to trust, do the work, and know that you'll be okay. So, a wee bit about me. As you've gathered by now, I'm Scottish, and there's Edinburgh Castle there. And I was born not far from that castle and grew up in just outside Edinburgh, studied in Edinburgh, um, done my health science degree, became a registered nurse, done many other studies. I done a postgrad in mental health before getting married and coming to Australia. So I've been in Australia for many, many years now. But during my journeys in Australia, so we came to Australia married, and then along the course of the way, we had a couple of kids. Um, Spent a lot of time in the Kimberleys with the Indigenous people, learning so much from them. And along the way, started my spiritual journey, became a Reiki master, then went on to study naturopathy, became a naturopath, done a business degree, and spent about 20 years in clinical, excuse me, in clinical studies and in working in hospitals and in the healthcare systems before finding myself in the mining and resources industry. And when I've been talking to some of my clients about reflecting on the past, and if you had ever said to me at any point in my previous life that I would have ended up heading up health functions in the resources sector, in the oil and gas sector, and leading large teams of people developing, implementing, and embedding health functions among some of the large global organizations like BHP, Rio Tinto, QGC, which was part of the BG group. And I often pinch myself and go, how did that happen? And I know that it was my journey and I had lots to learn and I certainly done that. But I trusted the process and allowed myself to grow and know that there's just so much um, input that I've got to give into life, and I really want to leave a legacy where I know that I've made change in an area that is inspiring to people. So moving into the health sector in the oil and gas industry, in that position, I was senior leader and done my job was shared between the corporate world and operationally. So I was very blessed that I got the whole 360-degree view on the operations. But what I did find was that there was lots of women similar to me who were struggling in that male-dominated environment and having to work so incredibly hard to get their voice heard, to get in line for their next promotion. And it was just struggle, struggle, struggle. And it was a lot of them were full of self-doubt, doubting their abilities because their male counterparts always seemed to be able to um, get that next step in the career ladder much, much easier. And being in a blocky environment, um, it's easy for women, especially climbing that corporate ladder, to develop a lot of the male characteristics to achieve and to be heard. And so when I came out of that world, I thought I'd learned all this knowledge and skills, not only in leadership, health, wellness, safety, and I thought, how best can I serve and leave my legacy? And that's where I launched into my own practice on coaching women to help themselves heal their body, mind, and integrate it and develop that health foundation that allows them to maximize their success, both in health, in their career, and in their relationships and lifestyle. So fast forward to today, I'm now a self-published author. I run a practice based on the Gold Coast in Queensland. And prior to COVID, I used to travel around Australia every quarter. However, now a lot of my work is now online, although I do um, healing and energy workshops face to face on the Gold Coast. So I feel very privileged that I can share some of my thought leadership and my findings with you. So why do we need to change? How often do we say to ourselves that we feel tired and bored of that same old routine. Sure, it keeps us comfortable, but there's a monotony that comes of it. And you really stop growing. And that was the case that I experienced when I was in the oil and gas industry, because I'd developed, implemented, and embedded health programs in the large global organizations so often that it just became very routine. And even though it was a huge privilege what I was allowed to do, the the challenge became less and less of it. So when you get to that point, you know that you need to change because you've stopped growing and you start to lose your passion and your magic, and that rubs off on people around you. So you need to get out and do a reboot and a reset to take you out of that comfort zone. And that brings back that energy that motivates you and it inspires you, and you become excited. And you attract people around you who are, are of the same mindset. And you use these energies to help you move forward, to create change, to shift that mindset and to flex and be that bit more agile. So the first thing, one of the first keys that I'll strategy that I'll share with you today is around decluttering your mind. But I'd like to extend it a bit more than just decluttering your mind, because when we're cluttered in our mind, it's really difficult to see clearly, to think clearly, to act effectively and efficiently, because when there's so much noise going on, it's really difficult to hear. But also, if you extend that a bit further into your home or your office space, if you're working in a really cluttered, messy office, and then you go home to a cluttered, messy house, that just contributes to that clutter in your mind. And it just doesn't give you time to space to breathe, to think clearly, to um, maximize your opportunities, because there's just so much noise. And there's been a lot of research done, and Marie Kondo has written several books on decluttering your home space and how that ties into decluttering your mind, because it creates a sense of space, it creates a sense of lightness, and you lighten up your energy. And it helps your thinking to slow down. It helps you to prioritize, to really look at yourself, start to go inward and ask yourself, what is important? What is my vision? What is my beliefs? Am I still aligned to all that, or does that need to be fine-tuned? And the more space and the more lightness that you give in your mind, the more clarity you get. And it means that your focus can become laser vision. And it's like looking through a lens in a camera and just getting it into focus. And you find that when you start to do that, the lightness allows you just to become calmer and more at peace with yourself, because you're not expending energy worrying about things or becoming fearful or procrastinating, because you're starting to get that clear, sharp focus, that crispness that allows you to peel off the noise around you and move into what is really important for you. Now, the next element is about your identity. And many of us lose our identity, especially when we're working in large organizations and We're very much driven by the organizational needs and wants. We have our KPIs, we have our brief, and off we go like a good soldier to deliver against the plan, which is what we're being paid to do. But what that does to us after a while is our identity starts to morph into the organization. And sometimes we can get so caught up in our work, in the organizational needs and requirements that we start to lose sight of who we are and what we want. And so it's really important to go back and start to do that inner work on who you are. And part of this is what I teach in my Transform program, but you can do simple things to start with, and that's look at your vision. Is your vision clear to you? Have you got it mapped out? And is there a lot of detail there so that you can really see clearly and know that you're online? Are your values and beliefs still the same? Are they still aligned with your organization, your company that you work in? Or do you need to go back and do some work on them? And that's really important because, especially if your values and beliefs aren't aligning to the organizations, then you've got a bit of a disconnect there. That becomes stressful. And we do know that the World Health Organization has said that stress is the health epidemic of the 21st century, which is really alarming. And we know that if we're not aligned, our stress increases, and we know that stress predisposes to chronic disease. So we all need stress, but we need to be able to manage it so that it's not impacting us. And we know that's happening. We know that the stress is impacting us when we start to become really anxious more than normal, or we're not sleeping, or we're having all these gut disturbances, and we might have more bloating or abdominal pain or irregular bowel patterns. These simple signs that we will generally just ignore and push away. But that's the body giving us those early signs to say we really need to be addressing ourselves and looking at what's going on. And the third point I wanted to make there is, so you're looking at your vision, your values and beliefs, and once you've done that, then develop an action plan around it, and start small. Look at, for the next 90 days, what does your action plan look like? What are the 3 goals that you need to achieve? And how are you going to achieve those goals? What step is it that you need to take every day, each week, in order to get you to achieve that goal in 90 days? So that's 3 simple tips around your identity and how to start working and being really clear about your values and beliefs, and start getting an action plan on the go so that you can start to grow, start to declutter, and start to move into that journey that you're here to do, to make a difference, to create your legacy. So the next tip is about practicing self-compassion. Now, there's lots and lots of research and books written on the importance of self-compassion, being kind to yourself, looking after yourself. And some people refer to it as self-care, self-compassion. And some people see it as being selfish. However, the research shows us, and Professor Kristen Neff has written a book called Self-Compassion, and she's a researcher with over 20 years of clinical studies. So she demonstrates in her book around being compassionate to yourself actually allows you to heal, to grow, and in turn, you can give more to others because your cup is full. Whereas if you don't take time out for you to be kind to yourself, to be compassionate to you, then your cup's always half empty, or it might be very empty, depending on your situation. And we know that if your cup's half full and you're constantly given without replenishing that, then it's going to dry up and you're going to be just so exhausted, so depleted, so over it all that you're not going to be able to bring your best self to the table every day. And we know that when you're depleted and exhausted and nothing more to give, we know that disease is happening within the body, and that can lead to all sorts of health issues, whether it be, as I previously mentioned, sleep disturbances, poor health practices, not eating properly, and that can lead to binge eating or starving, and so much more. The constant headaches. So we know that this research tells us that when we start to spend time with us, to look at us, to invest our time and energy in us, we're saying that we love ourselves and that we value ourselves, because if we don't love and value ourselves, then it's very hard for others to love and value us as well, because we're our best leader and we need to lead by example. So there's lots of ways that you can do this. It can be sitting for a couple of minutes every day, just doing deep breathing. It could be developing a meditation practice. It could be going dancing or swimming. It could just be having a walk in nature. Or, the other extreme, it could be off to a day spa or a wellness retreat. But it doesn't need to be hugely extravagant. But it's the simple steps, and it's the consistency of those steps that's going to allow your life to become very enriched. So the fourth point I wanted to talk about was energy, and we're all energy beings. Like we're made up of energy molecules, and you would have heard people talking about our energy centers in our body, and we call them chakras. And that's where our energy flows through all of our chakras. And when we're balanced and in good health, mentally, physically, emotionally, this energy is flowing, our life's in flow, our life seems effortless, but we might have experienced a trauma or an upset, or something's caused us to not be sleeping properly, or we've had a breakup in a relationship, or it can be any kind of trauma, or not looking after ourselves can be a trauma to the body. Then these energy centers get a bit out of balance, and that can lead to we start developing a cough or a sore throat. We keep losing our voice. Our headaches, we're getting headaches, or we might be getting a lot of gas in our gut. We might be feeling really sad and anxious, and And all these signs and symptoms that, when we're busy, we just ignore. But if we listen to these messages that our body and our mind is telling us, and we look at doing something to release these blockages that are stopping our energy flowing around our body, and then that helps us to keep our momentum going, keeping our health robust. And there's all sorts of tools that you can learn from that. Now, I run energy and healing workshops where I introduce my clients to Reiki 1 and Reiki 2 healing. It's universal healing, which helps you to understand how we connect into the universe, because we're all energetic beings, and little tips and tools on how to keep your energy light and clear and in flow. And simple techniques that you can do is, having a walk along the beach and immersing yourself in the ocean if you're around the ocean, or, going into the rainforest and having a walk and connecting with nature. Or if you're not in the situation where you can do that, when you have your shower, just have a shower meditation, and that's where you stand under the water and just allow yourself to relax and visualize the heavy energy, the stress, all falling off your body, off all your limbs, and down into the drain on the floor. And all that heavy energy, that sadness, that grief, that heaviness that you're carrying, all just gets taken away by the water from the shower, down the drain, along the pipe, and out into the ocean. And spend 2 or 3 minutes to do that, and you'll find that your energy lightens, and that the headaches may be gone, or the throat's feeling much better, and that gas that you've been having in your gut has gone. So lots of simple techniques that you can incorporate into your life to start off with. So they're just some really easy, quick tips on how you can reset and re-energize. So to boost your health, it's good if you can review your diet, and certainly all the processed refined foods, the sugars, we know that they're called inflammatory foods, and that means that when they go into the body, they cause inflammation at a cell level. And we know that inflammation leads to disease, and disease leads to chronic disease. So the more that you can clean up your diet, the better health that you're going to have. We want to introduce foods. Start to think of your foods as medicine, so that you can strengthen your gut, your heart, your brain, all your major organs, because they need a lot of energy to function well and create the best health in your body and mind. And some of these foods will be your prebiotics. So they start to heal and nurture your gut. And some of those foods are like your sauerkrauts or your pickled vegetables, and those fermented foods. Your probiotics, most people know probiotics as an inner health supplement, or some kind of yogurt type of supplements, which helps to heal the gut after foods. And for your heart and brain, if you think of red and blackberries, so your strawberries, raspberries, blueberries, blackberries, um, all of those fruits have got what we call anthocyanidins. So they help to reduce inflammation that's in the body. So they're, in moderation, are really useful foods to to have to help support the brain, the heart, and the gut. So you want to eat as clean as you can. So that's organic, it's free range, it's removing all the refined and processed foods from your diet. So the cleaner that you can eat, the more nourishing it is for the body. And when you eat really beautiful food that's got beautiful tastes and you're enjoying that experience, it's working on your mind as well, and it's making you feel better, it's making you feel lighter, your body's getting the nutrients that it needs, your mind's embracing that and loving it. And then comes the fun and the joy and the laughter to make it a holistic experience. And it goes without saying that our bodies need movement. Our bodies are designed to move. So we need to be able to keep the body moving so that it can absorb nutrients and it can remove toxins from the body and allows our bodies to be oxygenated. So whether or not you like to walk or swim or run or jog or go to the gym or just walk around the block, the body needs to move. So please don't be sitting at a desk in the office for 8 or 10 hours a day. You know, get up every 40, 50 minutes and walk around the block or do a few flights of stairs just to keep all the systems in the body active. And all of that helps you to develop a positive mindset. And we know mindset's the key to being successful, to initiating and sustaining habits, and to keep our vision alive and to keep our goals on track. So, simple things like looking at your diet can be incredibly important. So, we're almost at the end now, and I just wanted to share a bit about self-care strategies. And I mentioned earlier that self-compassion isn't selfish. You've got to fill your own cup before you can help fill other people's cups. And it's about really going within and feeling how you're feeling and being kind to yourself. And if you don't feel like you've got the energy to do anything, if if you've got the option, then just spend some time resting and having a nice cup of tea and putting your feet up and reading a good book. As I mentioned, keep moving, because the more you move, the more benefits it gives to your body and your mind. It helps you build on that health foundation, and it also shifts your mindset as well. So if you've been sitting feeling really glum and negative, and you get out and have a little walk in the fresh air and the sunshine and listen to the birds singing in the trees, that lifts your mind, and it allows you to look through a different lens in your world. And there's all different types of alternative therapies that can help, and it's not a one size fits all. Everyone's different, but I'd encourage you to explore things like acupuncture, massage, osteopath, physio, herbs, naturopath, um, bone therapy. Oh, there's just so many um, different modalities that are available. And, I'd encourage you to be curious about them and give them a go. And listen to your intuition. Listen to what your heart or your gut's telling you, and let that guide you to the practitioner that resonates for you for that point in time. I know over the years I've used many different practitioners, and most of them I still love and will pop in and visit now and again. But each each cycle of your life, each month of the year, you might be attracted to someone different for a specific reason, or just a specific feeling that you have that this person may be able to help you. So don't be held back by barriers that this is the way you go. Um, Allow your mind to be open and just see what comes in for you. And that's the magic of health. So we know why we need a strong, robust health foundation, because it helps us to find out what our purpose is. It helps us to go on our journey, our purpose, to create our legacy. But we know that we need to have a plan. We need to practice our self-compassion. And we know that when we do all this, it builds on our intuition. And we know in the 21st century, intuition is hugely important. And the universe is wakening us up, because the more we use our intuition, the happier and healthier our lives are going to be, because we're starting to listen to those inner whispers, because we have all the knowledge that we need inside of us. We have all the experiences inside us. And the more we listen to our intuition, it's starting to awaken that, so that we can get on our journey and be the most effective that we can be. And it all leads to believing and trusting in us, believing in your story, trusting in your journey, because you are unique and you're here to bring so much to the world. And it's about giving yourself permission to do that. So I encourage you to take some little nuggets from today's presentation and start making those changes in your life. Because if you don't reset, refocus, you're not going to get that re-energization, that clarity to help you take the next step in your journey. So I don't see any questions coming up in the chat today, and that's okay. If you feel like later on you remember something and think, oh, I wish I'd asked that, feel free to pop me an email. My details are on the screen. So my email is joan@joanmcewen.com. I've got a website called joanmcewen.com, and you can check out the work that I do there. And you can also drop me a note via my website. And I'm also on LinkedIn, and lovely. I'd be happy to connect with you all. You can follow the work and the articles that I write there. But I do run workshops and retreats, and I do one-on-one